I found this beautiful keyboard on Newegg for $20. But what's the catch? We'll get to that.
But for that price, it's one of the best keyboards you can get, unless you can find one better quality at a similar price. But you can get lots of keyboards for about $20, so what makes this one so special? Some of the obvious things are it being mechanical or RGB, but you can get RGB mechanical keyboards for less than $30, even from reputable brands like Cooler Master. Even this smaller form factor plays a role. 10 keyless or smaller keyboards can carry an extra price to them. But even that particular Cooler Master keyboard fits this bill. So let me back up. This keyboard is from a brand called Sama. They sell keyboards and cases, coolers, cables, and power supplies, and they operate out of China. I hadn't heard of these guys before I was going through some Newegg deals, and this $20 keyboard caught my eye. I think it was said to be on sale from $25, but after the sale it went up to $50. And for that price, probably not a good deal. But you do have to watch out. They have other keyboards that aren't mechanical, and that would be a big difference. First, the more notable features. This color scheme. It's very cute. I am a fan of these colors, pink, lavender, and white. Hell yeah. There's an argument to be made about Dorito fingers and white keycaps, but just clean your keyboard and fingers regularly. How about that? This keyboard is very small, smaller than 80% 10 keyless keyboards, but slightly larger than 60% keyboards. This allows for a couple extra keys and space for the arrow keys to be offset, as well as a volume wheel, which is fun to see. The downside of a smaller keyboard, you'll have to get used to the functions to activate some of the absent keys, but thankfully there is a legible legend on the front of the keycaps. It's much smaller than the 10 keyless keyboards I've been using over the last many years. The Corsair K65 Lux RGB I've used since 2018, and then the Red Dragon K552 that I modded recently for a video. I also have a few 60% keyboards, a Razer Huntsman Mini and some Chinese one. My issue with them, while great for portability and limited space, they're both a bit small, and I'm not a fan of needing to use functions, but more importantly to me, they're both using clicky switches, and I like quieter switches now. Thankfully, the switches on the Sama SM68 are linear. They're called red switches on the Newegg page, but they're more pink. From what I can find, these are probably linear gold-pink switches, perhaps from Otemu or TTC. Either way, I like the feel of these switches. And it's not just the switches being linear and therefore quiet that makes this an audibly soothing typing experience. The way the keys clack is really nice. You gotta hear this. I think it's the thockiest keyboard I have now, and that can be changed. One of my favorite features is that these switches are removable. A lot of big name brands like Razer or Corsair, from what I can tell, these switches are soldered down, so good luck swapping them out. But these, they give you a tool to remove the switches. They can take standard 5-pin switches, so that opens up a whole world of sounds and feelings to explore. You can also change the keycaps, of course, if they're not to your liking. But these stock keycaps are pretty and carry the legend on them that probably wouldn't exist on an aftermarket set. However, these keycaps do feel just a little cheap, but it's no problem. But this keyboard could be a great base to your next budget-friendly custom keyboard. The keyboard base itself is usually the expensive part. There are some good-looking kits from EpoMaker for about $50 or $60, but an entire keyboard for $20 and maybe new switches if you want a different sound. Checking out the legend also hints to another neat feature. It can be used wirelessly, and it has a detachable USB-C connector on the back, as well as a power switch on the bottom. You can run this wired through the included wireless receiver, which is held in by a magnet that feels very secure. or through 3 different Bluetooth paired devices, which means you could use this keyboard on a USB limited device like a Steam Deck or your phone easily. Using a keyboard latency tester website, the shortest milliseconds I can get with a keystroke is somewhere between 4 and 8 milliseconds, but usually around 30 milliseconds while wired. Decent performance. And 2.4 gigahertz mode, I don't know if it's placebo, but the lowest latency I can get was 16 milliseconds, usually around 20 milliseconds on the low end. Both my average keystroke being around 40 milliseconds. Not any noticeable difference from wired, but the numbers do tell a little story there. But the results on clickspeedtester.com suggests that the 2.4 gigahertz mode is a little slower. On Bluetooth, my average latencies were similar to wired, about 20 or 30 milliseconds, but only on this mode I was able to register 0 milliseconds. 3 clicks in a row, in fact, so either something is incorrect or Bluetooth could be the fastest setting. Oh yeah, the RGB is a nice touch. Personally, I've been sick of rainbow vomit since 2018. I did it for a while, I don't care anymore. I actually find that moving colors can be distracting, so I stick with something solid. Haha, shutter's too slow. There's also this really nice underglow on the sides and back of the keyboard. Using function and backslash, you can alter the effect of the RGB with 22 different modes, but only for the main keyboard LEDs. The side underglow and ring around the volume wheel is modified separately. Pressing down the volume wheel for 5 seconds will result in a blink. And now the wheel will alter the LEDs for the secondary lighting. Turning the wheel will adjust the brightness in 5 different steps, as well as off. Pressing the wheel again now will let you change between 11 different modes and colors. Ooh, rainbow. Rainbow. Pretty. Little quirk here is that the full changing RGB clearly shows the colors, but when using static colors here, red is a bit pink and orange is a bit peach. Not a big deal unless you like those colors. But I can't get a solid red or orange if you want those colors. I mean, orange is a D tier color anyway. However, red, some people like red. It's good for low light situations in your eyes compared to blue. Okay, once you find something you like, holding down the volume wheel for another 5 seconds will lock the secondary lighting and return the volume wheel to its original purpose, adjusting the volume. Back to the main keyboard LEDs, you can use function and the up and down arrow to change the brightness of those LEDs with the same 5 steps plus off that the secondary LEDs have. And then function plus left and right arrows will change the speed of the effect if applicable. Function and tab will change the static color with 9 modes. RGB, pseudo red, that looks pink, a peachy orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and a more different pink, and white. With the breathing effect active, you can function tab to toggle between the static color breathing, and most other effects can also have static custom color, otherwise RGB or changing. So it's fairly customizable there. Overall, the RGB is pretty, and while not vibrant in all states, again, the red looks too pink and the orange a bit too peachy. I don't have a problem with the colors, and I think the shades they do have are very pretty. I love the purple personally, and again, I'm not the biggest fan of RGB, but the options to set a static color is great. And I could be wrong about this, but I don't have any way of setting the colors in a more advanced way. The RGB suggests there are more hues available, like that. Can you see this? That is red. But when you set it to red, that's pink, my guy. But even with OpenRGB, the keyboard's not detected, and I don't know of any software for this keyboard, which is a good thing. I mean, remembering all the functions can be a bit of a chore, but IMO, it's way better than a dedicated random-ass software that you can't guarantee isn't spying on you. I mean, this is a Chinese keyboard after all. And it would be another software running in the background taking up precious CPU cycles. It's the reason why I dislike Corsair's IQ software. Other than the downside of this keyboard seemingly not having support through OpenRGB or more full control of the LEDs, I think the RGB support it does have is a very nice inclusion. I've been using this keyboard since I got it about a month ago, and it's more audible than my modded Red Dragon keyboard, but it still sounds and feels good. I wrote this entire script on it as I should, and it didn't take me much time to get to typing at full speed. I mean, I'm not the fastest typer, and I do make mistakes often, but I can get going on this little fella. I'm not hurt by the lack of function keys. I don't use them awfully often, and if I need to, I just hold the function key plus the corresponding number. Slight complaint is that the right shift key is a little short. I hit it just fine. but it can mess with you if you're not used to it. Gaming feels fine too. Now, a couple times in Counter-Strike, I started the round moving backwards because my middle finger is rested on S, then W, and I don't know if it was because I'm missing a row of keys and I just didn't have my hand up far enough. I don't know, it was weird. Another quirk is that there will be a delay when you turn your computer on before you can start typing. Even if it's wired, it'll have the wired LED blinking as it's connecting or something. That does bring me to the wireless functionality. I initially tried connecting one of the 3 blue teeth to my Steam Deck, but I couldn't get it to show up. And then I read in the manual that to reset the Bluetooth connection, you need to hold the function plus Bluetooth preset down for 5 seconds, and then it blinks indicating that it's cleared its previous connection. And then it started showing up under 2 different names, Sama Keyboard 3.0 and Sama Keyboard 5.0. I don't know the difference. I thought bigger number better and I rolled with it. Oh, also this supports Mac if that's your thing. Very cool.
Testing out the wireless function, you'll have to toggle the switch at the bottom and then function plus Q to switch from wired to 2.4 gigahertz, and it may take a few seconds. Weirdly, as it was connecting for the first time, my mouse stopped working and then my USB drive opened back up, and then like all of my USB devices were refreshing. But after that quick quirk, everything's working fine, and now I can type on my lap. According to the Newegg listing, this keyboard's 2000 mAh battery can last 36 hours with the LEDs, or 10 days without, but I didn't fully test that, but it seems there is quite a bit of battery in here. Though I've had a few issues while wireless, while I was typing out the script on this keyboard, how else would I do it? I was hitting some keys, I swear I was, but nothing was appearing on the screen. The keyboard wasn't timed out, it was just saying no. And after just 2 minutes without use while on battery, the LEDs will turn off to conserve power, and you should be able to start typing again without any issue there. But I still run into issues where actuations aren't registered, like right now in the script. I know I'm pressing the keys, but like, oh my god, literally right now, it's failing incredibly to register presses wirelessly. Moving the keyboard a little closer to the dongle fixed this, but I wasn't even that far. Maybe any more than 3 feet will cause some interference, but at that point, just run wired. Now I know I said after 2 minutes the LEDs will cut off and then you'll be able to begin typing without any delay there. But if it's more like 5 minutes, you may have to wait a few seconds before it'll start registering again. Not optimal for gaming by any means, but it didn't really bother me. If you're running wireless, just have some patience. For normal keyboard use, it's not really a problem. And sometimes it gets really annoying. I can wait a few seconds for it to begin registering again if I'm running wireless. And I can accept connectivity issues from being too far away. But sometimes when I'm not too far away, it'll register inputs repeatedly. Instead of searching for Newegg, I looked up Newegg. It's actually very egregious and happened a few times. Perhaps there could be some kind of firmware update to fix this, but I don't know of any software or support that this keyboard has. Maybe it is what it is, I guess. And yes, it's only sometimes these quirks show up, but coupled all together makes me not want to use the 2.4 GHz wireless mode. It's a nice to have, and I haven't even fully tested out the battery yet. It'd probably just be best to stick with wired operation anyway. I mean, it's a nice to have, but I don't want to have to deal with all those little things. And the only issue I get when wired is it taking 5 seconds to register once I've started up the computer for the first time. Now moving back to the body of the keyboard, there are 4 rubber feet along the bottom which do an alright job at preventing unintended movements. There are also 2 raised feet that can pull out with 2 different angles. This is a really cool addition. I have seen this elsewhere, but it's not super common. I only have one other keyboard with this feature. And while the entire body is plastic and the keycaps aren't the highest quality, it's still really good and I don't have any complaints with them. There is some, but not a lot of flex. Suddenly, after testing the flex, I must have pushed too hard on the F key because it stopped registering every input. That's not a good showing. Thankfully, after a few more aggressive presses, it seems to be working okay again. But then it started registering double inputs, like 2 Fs at a time. But if it's a broken switch, they do provide you with 2 extras. And like I mentioned earlier, you can remove the keycaps and they even provide a little tool. And you could even just take out all the switches and replace it with something better. Though another quirk I found is with the volume wheel. while it works and has tactile feedback with each adjustment, you have to adjust it with very fine movements. If you rotate too fast, then it won't register. Though this can help your OCD. If it's a little off kilter, you just whip it back into place, and it shouldn't adjust the volume too much. Also, when the keyboard's in wireless mode and it's timed out, so the LEDs are off, the volume wheel won't work or turn it back on. It's on a different plane, I guess, so you'll have to first reinitiate the keyboard and then it'll work. I enjoyed this keyboard so much that I was going to buy a second one on sale for $20, but the sale ended and it went back up to like $50. With the second one, I'd be more comfortable with modding it with different switches and keycaps. This one I want to keep pretty stock. But for $50, it's not a good deal at all, and you should probably just stay away from it. Especially with all of the little issues I've been having, mostly in wireless modes, mind you. But next time it goes on sale for under $25, I'll probably get another. I loved this keyboard from the start, but after using it for a bit and running into little problems, now I'm a little unsure. Having multiple wireless functions is a cool addition. You can have this connected to 5 different devices and just need to use a shortcut to swap between them. But the wireless functionality is less than desirable, with going to sleep and taking a few seconds to wake up, or when it's on Bluetooth, it'll randomly need a few seconds to reconnect. Like, that's annoying. My F key had issues since I tested the rigidity, so I used the keycap / switch puller to swap it out with one of the included spare switches. It wouldn't register at all until I unplugged and replugged the keyboard in. Not a real issue, just a little scary, but you're probably not supposed to swap switches on a powered on keyboard anyway, so I get it. The typing experience is good, with thoughtly, easy to actuate keys. I feel like I have a lot of mispresses with this keyboard. I'm not a very good typist to start. I love the size and the hues of many of the colors are nice, though not as vibrant as you may want. I'm not used to this 68% layout. The shift key might be a little bothersome to you, being a little bit smaller. I don't mind an awful lot, I still hit it just fine. What's more of an issue to me actually is the arrow keys. It's really close to the page down, and often I'll accidentally hit that instead, and whoop, pages goes down, as it does when you hit the button that does that. So again, the positives. The price on sale, the replaceable switches, the RGB once you find a color you like, the portability, the typing feel and sound, and the options for connectivity are there. The options are there. Not that you should use them, but... Which leads me to the negatives, which actually share a lot of the positives. The price, not on sale. The RGB software support, or lack thereof, and the vibrancy of said RGB. The layout may be an issue to some. The wireless is not ideal, and the potential durability. I don't know how long this will last. I hope the F key still works after doing that. I mean, all I did was like this, and I think I pressed down a little too hard, but oh well. Most of the issues are only present in the wireless modes, though on wired, I have run into a couple issues in Counter-Strike. Like, I don't know what the issue was exactly, but I was stuck moving a certain direction, and that is not viable for gaming, especially competitive. Not cool. There's a lot up in the air here. It's a great price. Issues are probably why. I mean, I'd buy a lemon for $20 as long as it's pretty and makes lemonade most of the time. And while I still do really enjoy this keyboard, I'm going to put it aside for a while. I'm done using it as my main, and I'm going back to my Red Dragon K552 that I've modded with creamy yellow switches and putting PBT keycaps. Finally going back to that, because I didn't really play with it for too long. I switched pretty quickly to testing this guy out. So what do you think of this keyboard? Dislike, unsubscribe, and tell me what you think. And stay tuned for my next videos. I think I'm gonna do portable monitors next. You know those $100 Newegg portable monitors? Yeah, I have one, and we're gonna talk about that next time, maybe. See you next time.